All right, what's going on, everybody? My name is Jonathan. My given name, Jonathan. Uh, Pretty sure I'm gonna call this channel African Conservative Strikes Back. Afro Conservative Strikes Back. Um, I think the irony is really needed. Uh, got a few topics already pre-planned to talk about. I'm stuttering here to start. This is all kind of new to me. Um, but my today's topic, as I'm looking down, is going to be about let's see, episode 1, voting. Our ancestors died for it. Right? Voting. Our ancestors died for it. And other ideals we sacrificed for. And this is going to be the first of many of these kind of talks on this particular subject and other other Pan-African topics, other topics that relate to us as Black people in America, diaspora, on the continent. You know, to start, this is all about. It's always a discussion. It's not really just me putting my expertise out there, like I know everything. Probably the furthest thing from that within the community. I feel like, I have things I feel like I know. I feel like my own experiences. I've learned some things, but I'm always willing to learn more, especially from people who have, expertise in certain areas. I also think it's good for the community to always pitch ideas towards each other, and always be actively engaging each other on how we can build forward. All right. So voting, right? I always have this discussion with my family about voting and how voting is not really the first thing on my to-do list. When I wake up in the morning, I don't really think about politics in America. Like regardless of who the president is, what party is being promoted as our party. I always feel like there's an element that's lacking that every other bloc in America is allowed to have, but we're not. As Black people, we expected to vote a certain way, and I feel like that's democratic, for the most part these days, And I feel like even for the folks that are Republican, they're also not getting anything out of it specifically for us, as Black people, right? They're just voting, I think, large part to spite the Democratic Party, you know, as they should be. The kind of Democrats kind of deserve, you know, to lose our vote at least for a little while until they actually give us a platform. That's in my opinion, right? I think I've been sitting out for a while. Like there's nothing going on about that. But voting, I think it's a valid point that my people in my family have gotten around to putting into my head that voting is important. And I'm still probably going to sit the selection out. I might register. I think so. I've heard that point that I probably should just register. And then registering would then at least make it known that I was available to vote, but I just didn't go to the poll to support anybody because there wasn't a good enough candidate. There was no platform put forth that I could get behind. But if I did get behind any particular politician right now, it's probably the guy that isn't gonna get maybe the third amount of votes, maybe Cornel West. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I think he talks a little more flowery than he needs to reach the average person, and it makes it seem a little less genuine, even though he does put passion behind it. Um, yeah, like I don't think people are really looking to vote for another Obama. Just because you're black, you have to speak a certain way. Like Trump has a huge base, and he speaks like the layman of white America, and white America doesn't even speak a proper English for the most part, right? And it's like it's kind of ironic that those are people that speak English, but they speak like us. It's like they're still learning it. Um, and it's their language. But anyhow, yeah, we fought and died for it, but I just don't want it to be lost. At 6 minutes on this video, my main point of that it shouldn't be the only thing that we think about as black people, particularly black people in America. It shouldn't be the only thing that we're consciously thinking about, um, as of the many things that our ancestors have died for, right? So, of those things that we died for, um, autonomy, right? To have our own stuff, our own shit, our own everything, our own government systems, our own, schooling, our own educational system, whatever those things might look like, and to be able to decide what those things would look like for us. Like we don't have to follow the exact same structure that's promoted in the West. We already seen that it's not really producing anything of value, right? What else? Security, right? They also died to have, peace and security, right? And we can already, can't really be argued against that we have those type of things for ourselves, within America. Power, right? So our ancestors also died for power, not just autonomy and be able to do what we want, um, which should mean being left alone, right? Because it's pretty well known that Western societies will meddle in societies that they aren't really bending the knee to what they want to do, right? So, but for power, right? We want the ability to not even just like, they died for the ability, not for us just to not be messed with, but to be able to address things that are happening to us, right? So if something happened to one of our people by somebody of another race or ethnicity, right? They would have to think twice about it, and it shouldn't even be like they think twice. It should be like they should know better in advance, right? Because at this point in time, everybody knows China is not just up and coming; they've already arrived, right? And there's no one that's really messing with Chinese people, right? Just because they're Chinese, you won't see those stories on the news, right? And in fact, China is projecting itself to be able to do what it wants when it wants, and you can see it in geopolitics if you're paying attention, right? They don't bother anybody right now. Militarily, their military is not what an American military is, where they just project themselves all across the world. I don't think they necessarily intend to do that either, but they have the power, right? And population as well, to make sure that they're not the ones getting meddled with and bullied, right? And I think my last point for today is never again, right? So they fought and died, so that we'd have the possibility, or not the possible, so that their children in the future, their children's children, like the stuff that happened to us during slavery, colonization, during Reconstruction, Jim Crow, all these things, like anything, any kind of sabotage, economics, politically, um, any kind of abuse that we suffered, that it would never happen to us ever again, right? And that's probably one of the biggest things that they fought for, is that it would never happen again. Like, we'd have the power to make sure that it never happened again. We'd have autonomy to make sure that we're at least in control of what our destiny is for ourselves, right? And we provide that security to ourselves, right? To make sure that those things are the case. And I think that's like a lot bigger than just voting, right? Because we could have a king or a queen that, if people saw their potential to govern and to be organized and keep our people organized and on the same page about what we need to do to achieve these other goals of autonomy, security, stability, and that bullshit like slavery and colonization and neo-colonization never happens to us again, we'd all get behind that. I think only an idiot would argue against not having a ruler that made sure this type of stuff would never happen again, just so they can get a vote, and have the next puppet who's controlled by whoever, with their pockets filled. And that's pretty much all I gotta say about that. And yeah, hope everybody's doing all right. Please comment, definitely comment, like, share. If you get value in this, continue the discussion. Point out things that you think I might have missed. If you think I'm wrong, tell me that in the comments too. I'm always not really gonna debate you necessarily, but I'll listen to your points. If they're valid, I'll try to look back and be like, maybe they have a point. I'm a pretty introspective person. It might take me a while. It might take me years before I understand the point you're trying to get to me. But at some point, probably will look back and be like, if you were right, and I feel you were right, I'll be like, damn, they were right, So, this is a know-it-all Afro conservative strikes back, and hope everybody's good, and take care.